Join me on DraftKings. Go to Dr. T23.site. That is DRT23.site. Go ahead and click join me on DraftKings and get your $200 bonus bet when you bet $5 instantly on DraftKings Sportsbook money lines, totals, and same game parlays. DraftKings has the action. On this week's episode of A Win is a Win, we are diving deep into NFL free agency. Might just be the most important week in the NFL. Besides the draft, we're breaking down who made some of the best moves, who sat on their hands, what moves made sense, what moves didn't. And now we have allegations of tampering. My goodness, we are going to break everything down and dive deep into some of these moves on this week's episode. Let's go. Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back. It is going to be a special episode. We are talking NFL free agency. That's right. It was a week, and it was not a week for the week. Listen, before we get into all of it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast and tell someone to tell somebody else to join. A win is a win, and we're trying to get our subs up, y'all. Yes, we are trying to get our subscribers up. So don't forget to tell someone so we can get those subs up. We're trying to hit other platforms. And don't forget to hit your notification bell at the top so that you get your necessary notification. Well, free agency. Mm, mm, mm. Well, it officially took off, and a lot of familiar names went to different places. Yep. That's why we're going to spend a lot of time on this special episode talking about the biggest and most impactful moves so far. Now, the first team that we're going to chit chat about are the Dolphins. Yep, they notably let a lot of talent leave in the free agency process, but did everything they could to revamp their defense. Now, they signed edge rusher Shaq Barrett, linebacker Jordan Brooks, and safety Jordan Poyer. On top of that, they inked other defensive players like Anthony Walker, Neville Gallimore, Syrian Neal, Nick Needham. Given how Miami was stuck with inconsistent defense, it's no wonder, in my opinion, they attempted to completely change how it was structured, and rightfully so. And some teams know their weaknesses, and a lot of times fans don't understand why they are making moves that they are making, but then it makes sense when it's time for the season to start. Now let me add a small but to that. Sometimes they don't get it right and they make moves that don't make any sense. The next team I want to discuss is the Ravens. Now, they didn't do, excuse me, a whole lot and lost a number of players to the open market, but they made one move that could make up for all of that. That's right. They were able to sign, listen, Derrick Henry to a 2-year contract. Now, the sheer thought of Henry and Lamar Jackson in the backfield together should create nightmares, shuddering nightmares for opposing defenses. If you thought the Ravens were scary before, I'm saying it now. They just signed their ticket to the Super Bowl. 2-year deal inked, $9 million. This takes them to a whole new level. Sticking in that same division, I'm going to get a little aggressive here when we talk about this team because it is my team's bitter rival. Yep, I'm talking about those Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers got aggressive in free agency. They signed, obviously, Russell Wilson for particularly nothing. They inked linebacker Patrick Queen, and they traded receiver Deontay Johnson for cornerback Dante Jackson. Deontay Johnson for Dante Jackson. That's very close in names. Previously, he was on the Panthers. Now they get a big improvement at linebacker, quarterback, and corners with these moves. Clearly, in my opinion, they want to compete with Baltimore for the division title next year. But I'm going to stop and say this. In the last, I'm going to go back to 2018. Come on, the Steelers have done nothing for their offense. Nothing. Stop the run. Stop other teams' offense. Get the ball and can do nothing. You continuously spend the highest amount of NFL free agency money to build up your defense and do nothing for your offense. I don't understand it. Yeah, you might want to build up your D to compete with the Ravens because let's face it, the Ravens are it just is. My point is this: spend money where you're the weakest. You're the weakest on your O line. So maybe you play chess, not checkers. You put a few pieces on the D line and you put some on your O line, but your O line needs a lot more work than your D line. I'm sorry. You're not where you should be because of that, and you're spending the most money in NFL to build up your defense, and it's not helping you. Perhaps it will. Don't know, but we'll see. Moving along. Sometimes we look at teams and we say, they came back. They were underdog. We counted them out. But they came back. And then when they came back, they ended up in the playoffs. What can they do this year? Well, we should also mention the Houston Texans. Houston was noticeably less active on the first day of free agency, but more than made up for it since then. Yep, they traded for Joe Mixon, re-signed Dalton Schultz, and signed Daniel Hunter. Those were just their largest moves. And they also picked up Mike Ford, Aziz Al-Shahir, Lonnie Johnson, Jeff Okuda, and Danico Autry. Houston wants to go all in, given that CJ Stroud is on a rookie contract still. Now, in my opinion, I believe D'Amico Ryans is saying, okay, all right, I see the potential here with CJ. Made it to the playoffs. He needs some weapons. Let's go get him. And don't forget, we still have the draft. Now, a lot of times we look at movement in free agency and say, they're quiet. Why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that? Well, we still have to remember that a lot of what happens in free agency is so draft position can move up, can move down. Some people are going to get this person and move them out the way because they need a QB. Maybe they want to move this person out of the way because they need to work on their O line instead of their defense. Maybe they need an edge rusher instead of a running back. You never know. But we still have the draft to go. Tennessee Titans. I have to wonder what their goal is in 2024, but they made some interesting maneuvers in free agency. Many were confused, just as I when they signed DeAndre Hopkins, and are even more confused now. They have picked up Tony Pollard and Calvin Ridley. Now, the team wants to contend, but confused as to how. It lacks a consistent quarterback and defense. Now, listen, they signed other names like Mason Rudolph, Kenneth Murray, Chidobe Awuzie to attempt to fix that, though it still feels like this roster is in a weird place. And without a doubt, they still improved overall. It is weird, y'all. I don't understand it. It's how do you how do you attempt to fix a problem? It doesn't work, but the moves that you make still improved. I don't know. We just have to watch the Titans and see exactly what's going to happen because going down the rabbit hole with them, it reminds me of just coming out of it and ending up in the Twilight Zone. Moving on, similar to the Ravens, the Las Vegas Raiders made one individual move that stood out, and I'm telling you, AP probably went and banged and shook the table for this one. And that was signing of Christian Wilkinson, the star defensive tackle that used to be a Dolphin. Wilkins got a 4-year, $110 million deal to shore up their defensive line. Vegas also signed Gardner Minshew, but they haven't really been active outside of that. And they also cut Garoppolo. So interesting moves. And I believe that AP Adrian, he will be able to take Christian and say, I know how to handle him. Don't worry about it. Just get him here. I know what to do with him. And for that move to happen, he's playing chess, not checkers. Your AI sidekick has arrived. That's right. Turn off the bat signal because Blaze is here to save the day. Blaze is an AI sidekick for overwhelmed teams of one just like you. Brainstorm and outline content ideas with AI. Go from idea to on brand content in minutes. Turn a blog post into 10 plus asset types, ads, social posts, emails, and more. Collaborate with colleagues in real time and get content approved. Go to drT23.site. That is DRT23.site. Navigate to Blaze and download today. All right, so now we have the Giants, and again, here's another head scratcher like the Titans. Now they seem to have no idea what direction they want to go in. They signed veterans like Drew Lock, Singletary, Devin Singletary, McKenzie, but then you look at they traded for star edge rusher Brian Burns. Now, that, in my opinion, gives their defensive line a little bit of a plus with Burns. The problem is that their offense remains atrocious. I'm going to just put it out there. And yet they continue to shell out money to players that won't even immediately fix their problems. Speaking of the Giants, their divisional rival, the Eagles, had a wonderful free agency. They know what they needed to fix. They signed, obviously, Saquon Barkley, and that caused a whirlwind of emotions from Tiki Barber. You're dead to us, and all these little Twitter fingers and all this, then. Whew. Anyway, moving on from the drama. Inked Bryce Huff, Zach Bond, Julian Aqua, and CJ Gardner-Johnson. They also extended Landon Dickerson, Jake Elliott, Brandon Graham. I think the Eagles are looking to bounce back from a disappointing year. Now, I believe, and just from looking at how the Eagles have played, I think they want to stop Jalen from having to run so much. Not to say that he's not, but then when you put Saquon in the mix, now you have a more diverse field. You're not limited. And what if, just live in a world of what if with me, you guys, for a minute. What if the Eagles say, ring, 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 hey Jason, um, Let's meet up for some coffee. Arguably one of the best centers in the NFL, period. Put Jason Kelsey, unretired Jason Kelsey, and put him back under center with all of these weapons, these Swiss Army knives that they have now. Eagles will be back in the conversation to be a problem. Now, huh, we go to the entire uh NFC. But before I go to the NFC, I was gonna skip this, but I'm gonna go back to it because I didn't really. Most people say that they were the most impressed with the Commanders and what they did and the moves that they made. All right, not so much, but it's worth mentioning, so I'll bring it up. Some people were most impressed with the Commanders that they have just gone all out and revamped their roster. So here's who they've signed: Marcus Mariota, Austin Eckler, Zach Ertz, Nick Allegretti, Tyler Bedaz, Dorrance Armstrong, Clyland Farrell, Frank Louvu, Bobby Wagner, Jeremy Chin, and Brandon McManus. All of these guys could start next season except for Mariota and could drastically change the culture down there in Washington. Mind you, they still have an excellent receiving core and defensive tackle. Yes, yes, I know. The issue is the quarterback. Who are you taking? And are they going to be a good fit for all of these weapons that you just received? That's the question. Are you guys going to move up over the Bears and take Caleb? What's happening there? What's going on there? And with, I just, I have my thoughts about the Commanders, and maybe I should save that for a separate episode. I hear it, and for as much as they could have sat quiet and not done anything, yes, they did get some weapons. I'll give them that, but I'll save the longer version of why I think this wasn't as spectacular as people seem to think it is for another episode. Now we're going to jump back into the entire NFC North division. No team really stands out on their own, but they've all improved individually with little moves. Now, the Bears added DeAndre Swift, Gerald Everett, Kevin Byard, and Jonathan Owens. The Lions traded for Carlton Davis and picked up Marcus Davenport. Now, the Packers shockingly released Aaron Jones in order to sign Josh Jacobs and then later picked up Xavier McKinney. I and the Minnesota Vikings signed Aaron Jones, Jonathan Greenard, Sam Darnold, and Andrew Van Ginkel, among others. This division will be very entertaining moving forward. I just couldn't see them getting rid of Aaron Jones. If you saw what I saw and the beat down that he put on that field, all right. Now we can pretty much stick to the NFC South together. Like, just hang in there with me. The Falcons made the most noise by signing Kirk Cousins and Darnell Mooney to dramatically improve their chances of winning. Just with that, Falcons is one, period. The NFC South. Because who else? And if you can tell me who else, shoot it in the comments. The Panthers spent a ton of money on their offense, picking up both Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis. Now, they also traded for Deontay Johnson. The New Orleans Saints signed Willie Gay, but was basically all they did. Like, nothing else. The Bucks essentially kept their free agents, didn't let any of them go. They re-signed Mike Evans, Levante Davis, and Antoine Winfield got his franchise tag. Let's talk about Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield ain't. He walked up in there. He didn't have his pistol. He didn't have his ski mask. You know, Beyonce in that Beyonce song, she said, "You see the mask where my money." He didn't say any of that and walked out with 110 M's, 110 million. He didn't rob the. He didn't even have to put the mask on and rob the bank. He just walked up in there. Whew. Then finally, the Arizona Cardinals need to be discussed. They made a ton of smaller moves, bringing in DJ Dallas, Jonah Williams, Justin Jones, Mac Wilson, Sean Murphy, and re-signing a good chunk of their expiring contracts. They didn't really do anything wild, but made solid moves overall. Small moves sometimes are the best moves. No need to ruffle anybody's feathers. If you know what you need, go get it, and what you don't, leave it alone. The only team that I wanted to talk about that didn't do enough was the Seattle Seahawks. Now, they released both starting safeties in Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. Then they let both Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks walk in free agency along with Drew Lock. So that means they have no linebackers, safeties, and lack of depth at the quarterback. In free agency, the only thing they've done was extend Noah Fant, sign Rashawn Jenkins, and extend Leonard Williams. Seattle needs to wake up sooner, in my opinion, rather than later, because I don't really know what the goal is in Seattle. And Jerry Jones. He didn't feel he needed to make any moves in free agency. Perhaps he will by the time this episode comes out. But as of right now, I'm recording and he hasn't. But you know how Jerry Jones is. He likes to control the draft. And so we'll see what happens there. Now, interesting enough, 3 days in to free agency. Okay. 72 hours. We have allegations of NFL tampering with uh, the Eagles, Saquon Barkley, and you guessed it, Kirk Cousins. Now, the Eagles denied any allegations of violating the NFL's tampering policy after Saquon Barkley's former Penn State coach said that the running back spoke to the general manager during the negotiation window, which, if you know anything about the tampering policy, you cannot talk to teams, GMs, or anybody during that period of time. Now, the league is looking into whether or not the 2022 championships did break tampering rule in luring two-time Pro Bowler away from the New York Giants and join the NFC foe as a free agent. Now, both Eagles and Barkley denied the allegations, and the issue came up. And even, even though the Penn State coach brought it into play, if you will, brought it into conversation, brought it up, in my opinion, I think that's out of bounds. He coached Barkley during his 3 seasons with the Nittany Lions, and he also chatted with him last off season and had a standoff with the Giants before negotiating a 1 year deal. Now, obviously, Saquon going back to the Eagles is like returning home for him. And let's say this. If Barkley did in fact have a phone call with Roseman, it would be considered tampering ahead of the NFL free agency per NFL rules. But there's no proof of it. None. And where are you getting this information from? Who fed it to you? Who gave it to you? Saquon, quote unquote, said that Coach Franklin, I think, is um, interpreted. The truth is, the pitch, the sell was Penn State, and how many Penn State fans are Eagles fan, but that was through my agent. That was the only conversation that was had. But let's say any other conversation did happen. If it did or if it didn't, we wouldn't know. We weren't on the phone. But why is that his business to make public? I have no idea why, but the NFL now is investigating all of these allegations around NFL tampering. The same thing is happening with Kirk Cousins. Okay, same exact thing is going on with Kirk Cousins. And okay, for let's do this for background. Okay, some of you may say, "Okay, Tiffany, I hear you, but I still have no idea what you're talking about." Okay, for context, a player cannot visit any team facility other than the one he's currently signed to, and no direct contact is permitted between the players and any employee or representative of a club other than his current club in the anti-tampering policy rulebook. And allegedly, this was broken. The basics are the teams can speak with players' representative 2 calendar days before their current contracts expire. That is called 2-day negotiating period, and is why new deals can be announced before the official free agency. Allegedly, Kirk Cousins did the same. Now, the only thing that I have in my mind that's puzzling to me about Kirk Cousins' deal. And I'm not going as far as some people have gone, in media. I'm just a regular doctor who has a podcast. So I'm not a celebrity, a media person, or anything like that. But I do have an opinion, and I'm gonna share it. Kirk Cousins has made one playoff appearance. One. Just one. And you mean to tell me that you get a 180 million contract, which includes a 50 million signing bonus? You just came off of a season-ending Achilles injury he suffered last October. Now, while Cousins has some solid moments throughout his career, his age paired with his recent injury might have some other people questioning his money, just like me. Now, one person that made a bunch of noise about his deal was Cam Newton. He said it was extremely alarming that he only had one playoff. I just said that within 12 years, and he's coming off an injury. It, we it okay. Cousins has a 66.9 completion percentage with 39,471 yards, 270 touchdowns, and 110 interceptions, along with 19 rushing touchdowns. He has a 76, 67, and 2 record in the regular season, though just 1 and 3 in the postseason. He is a very good regular season quarterback. Did you hear the numbers I just gave you? 1 and 3 in the post, 1 and 3 in the post, 76, 67, and 2 in the regular season. I don't know. Now, if you compare him to other QBs who could have been an option for Atlanta, Justin Fields, um, it's not a, and to me, it wasn't necessarily about who had the highest ceiling or the highest skill set. They needed a QB. He has yet to make a deep playoff run. It's about what they've already done. When you talk about that type of money, well, it's safe to say that Kirk Cousins secured the bag and more than likely now is going to retire a Falcon. We're going to come back now and switch it up and talk about the NBA and dive deep into why the Kings have the Lakers number. We'll be right back. Looking for some quality betting picks? Well, download the Discord app and join our group BetMasters Lounge, where you can get positive EV and arbitrage along with best bets and parlays. Download Discord now, send us an invite, and get in on the action. Sacramento Kings. Mm, mm, mm. They have the Lakers number. They fully have the Lakers number. And they beat them badly. I mean, badly. The Lakers 120 to a 107 loss on Wednesday night exposed so many different problems. And too much shooting, too much speed, too much toughness. They couldn't hang. And for the Lakers, it's a whole lot of questions without answers. Listen, the way that Sabonis bullied, it was disrespectful what he did to AD. At one point, he bullied him to a block, spun the elbow into the jaw, and just laid AD out on the floor. I mean, the King center running, he's like a running back when it comes. Davis has no answer for him, none whatsoever. He doesn't know what to do with Sabonis at all. LeBron didn't play well at all. 2 days of rest. Two. Partied it up at the gold party. Sat on the sideline with Jeannie Buss and some other woman. Very cringy moment. Pretty sure he was lay sleep on the couch for a couple days. All right. Came out the huddle and turned the ball over 3 times in the third quarter, leading to a Kings fast break, and they just went on a run. D'Angelo Russell, he went cold ice, as ice sickles. I mean, I really don't know what to say about the Lakers, but we'll see how they play against the Warriors. I believe they play against them this Saturday. In other NBA news, the Boston Celtics are officially running away with the top seed in the Eastern Conference. 'Of course, they are. They have 51 wins. 49 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 wins The next closest being a 42-win Milwaukee Bucks. Now, Boston has looked like the far and away best team in that conference. And on the other hand, the youthful Oklahoma City Thunder are the top seed in the West with a 45-20 record. Now, they are tied with the Nuggets and are in a tight race with the Paperclips, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Mavs, and the Suns, and the Timberwolves. And it's very safe to say that the West is more competitive this year. I don't know what's going on with the Suns, but they need to figure it out. I just wanted to put that in there. Moving along, sticking to um, or more of these NBA teams. The first to roll with the Miami Heat and the Phoenix Suns in their upcoming games. A few bets to talk about. Miami takes on the Detroit Pistons, with the Suns taking on the Charlotte Hornets. Now expect both Miami and Phoenix to win their respective games. The day after, I'd say the New Orleans Pelicans are a good favorite to beat the Trailblazers at home, and New Orleans is in a very underrated moment right now. And finally, I'd go on to say that the Knicks can beat the Sacramento Kings when they meet up on Saturday night. The Knicks have held their last three opponents to under 80 points. Their defense is legit, and they aren't letting up anytime soon. Throw that into a parlay, put $20 on it on FanDuel, get you back 138. Throw that into a parlay on DraftKings. $10 on that actually turns you back into 117. And I haven't been able to check Chalkboard just yet for some player props. So I'll go ahead and put that in the comments so that you can see my picks for the player props and my arbitrage bets for this week. That's going to do it for this week's episode of A Win is a Win. And don't forget to tell someone to subscribe, y'all. We're trying to get our subs up. Get that bell on your device so you can get the notifications. And don't forget, if you have time this weekend, check out the NC2A tournaments. It is March Madness, y'all. It's going down. Peace.